Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name's Rhiannon and today I'm bringing you guys a very big book haul. I haven't filmed a book haul in the longest time. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you'll know that as I was preparing to move house, I decided to unhaul a load of my books. And I also decided from that point onwards as well that I was going to be more conscious of my book buying, because over the last few months I've realised that I don't need to own every single book that I think I'm going to enjoy. I can always go back to them later and buy them if I really want to, but there's no point in me spending so much money on books, buying books and then not reading them for like 2 or 3 years. So I am trying to be more mindful of the books that I'm buying and also trying to prioritize those books as well, because otherwise it just ends up being such a vicious circle and it leaves me with so many books on my shelves that I just am not getting to. So I have been really good. However, I feel like I have a substantial amount of books now to be able to film a video like this for you guys. These used to be my most popular videos and obviously I've not filmed some in a while because I haven't been buying as many books. So I really hope you enjoy watching this one. I do have 12 books to show you guys today. They are also a mix of new releases, Waterstones exclusive editions. We also have books that I received in subscription boxes that I haven't filmed unboxings for. So it's hopefully going to be a very fun video, and without further ado, let's dive into the books. The first book I have is The Voyage Home by Pat Barker. This is the next novel in her kind of Greek myths series. I can't actually remember if there's a name for this series or what. It doesn't say, but I do have another book, or possibly 2, by this author. They look very similar and they also follow the events from Greek myths. This one is a Waterstones exclusive edition. It has gorgeous end pages and it's also signed by the author, which is why I ultimately pre-ordered it. Now it has been out for a few months now. I was just putting off filming this video and so I haven't picked it up. I do tend to read my Greek myth books towards the summer months, so this probably isn't one that I will be reading as soon as I would like to. But this one in particular follows Agamemnon, I believe, and Clytemnestra. So it just says here, after 10 blood-filled years, the war is over. Troy lies in smoking ruins as the victorious Greeks fill their ships with the spoils of battle. Alongside the treasures looted are the many Trojan women captured by the Greeks. Among them, legendary prophetess Cassandra and her watchful maid Ritsa. Enslaved as a concubine, war wife to King Agamemnon, Cassandra is plagued by visions of his death and her own, while Ritsa is forced to bear witness to both Cassandra's frenzies and the horrors to come. Meanwhile, awaiting the fleet's return is Queen Clytemnestra, vengeful wife of Agamemnon. Heart-shattered by her husband's choice to sacrifice their eldest daughter to the gods in exchange for a fair win to Troy, she has spent this long decade plotting retribution in a palace haunted by child ghosts. As one wife journeys towards the other, united by the vision of Agamemnon's death, one thing is certain: this long-awaited homecoming will change everyone's fates forever. You guys know I love myself a Greek myth retelling. I love the history behind these books and these stories, and especially Agamemnon's story as well. I find it so interesting. So I am definitely excited to dive into this one. I'm very happy to own this now because it matches my other editions as well. And as I said, when we get towards the summer months, I will be picking this up for sure. The next book I have here is Where the Library Hides by Isabel Ibanez. This is the sequel to What the River Knows, which is actually a book that I read last month. That was the group book for my Egypt trip. For those of you who don't know, I did recently go to Egypt as part of Gavin from Gavin Reads It All's Trova Trip group. And because it was Gavin hosting the trip, we did decide to make it a little bit more bookish and we had a group book, which was of course the first one. What the River Knows is said to be a mix of kind of The Mummy and Death on the Nile, which isn't necessarily how I would describe it. The only reason it's compared to The Mummy, in my opinion, is because they are set in an archaeological dig, and the only reason that it's compared to Death on the Nile is because this is set in Egypt and there's somewhat of a murder mystery element to the book, which does play a part, but not as much of a part as I would have thought. I feel like that description isn't necessarily accurate. I will say though, I did have a good time with it. It definitely didn't live up to The Mummy and Death on the Nile, but as its own story, I did really enjoy it. It was so cool to be reading about these places in Egypt and also visiting them myself. I feel like it was just a surreal experience, and I definitely feel like I connected more to the story because I was in the locations that this book was set. So I did enjoy that aspect of it. We also did have some somewhat of a murder mystery element to it, and we also had a forbidden romance, which I was definitely here for. So I am excited to dive into this one. The first book did leave off on a cliffhanger as well, and yeah, it just blew my mind. I wasn't expecting things to go that way, so I do desperately want to read this one. It is actually on my December TBR, so hopefully that means I will get to it this month. But yeah, I had to pre-order this one as soon as I finished the first book, and I'm so happy it's here. It's a beautiful cover, and hopefully I do enjoy it as much as I did the first one. The next book I have is 6 Scotch Roses by Carissa Broadbent, which is definitely a tongue twister. This is a novella which is set in the world of the Crowns of Nyaxia series, the first book being The Serpent and the Wings of Night. I didn't know that this was a standalone set in that world. I thought it was a continuation, and I thought it was meant to be read between the first and second books, which is why I read it. I later found out that, yeah, that's not the case. It is a standalone, but I really enjoyed my time reading this one. I have read the first book in the Crowns of Nyaxia duology, but not the second. And this was a nice little break in between because you're still in that world and the writing style is very familiar, but you do follow different characters. And yeah, I had a really good time following both of the characters in this. In this one, we follow our main character Lilith, and ever since she's been born, she has essentially known that she was going to die young. One day, she comes home and finds her father kneeling in their garden and realizes that something is wrong. From this moment onwards, a plague descends on this land and everyone falls ill. And it's really horrible actually, because it's described as like people are literally withering away, their skin is like falling off, and they ultimately die young. And Lilith is actually surprised that she's survived this long, but her sister has recently started falling ill and she's desperate to find a cure to this plague. This then leads her on to more drastic measures, and she ends up making a deal with a vampire. She gives him 6 roses in order for 6 vials of his blood, which she believes will be the key to figuring out a remedy to this plague. Of course, there's a lot more to it than that. This is a very short book, but there is so much that is packed in here. I flew through it. I absolutely loved it. I was so connected to the characters, even though I didn't think I was going to be because of how short this is. But it is a fantastic novel. If you would like to know whether you enjoy Carissa Broadbent's writing style, then I would highly recommend picking this up. It's definitely a great taste of the world and her writing, as I said, and it definitely makes me want to carry on reading the rest of her books now. I still need to read The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, and then I do also have her other book on the way to me now as well. Next up, we have Violist Things by Chloe Gong. This is the second book in this trilogy. I can't remember what it is called, to be honest with you, and it doesn't say. Oh, it does. It's the Immortal Longings series or trilogy, and I went for the Waterstones exclusive edition of this. I do own the Fairy Loot exclusive edition of the first one, but I didn't think I needed that because whilst I loved the book, I didn't love it enough to buy the Fairy Loot edition of the second one, and I went for the Waterstones one instead because it said it was an exclusive edition. However, unfortunately, there's nothing really that exclusive about it. It does have some pretty cool end pages which look like this, but yeah, other than that, we don't really have too many changes. I will say it is signed, so that is pretty cool, but yeah, I'm kind of gutted now that I didn't go for the Fairy Loot edition because I thought this one would have a nicer edge. I feel like I'm not going to be able to describe the first book properly to you guys, and it's not that I don't remember it, I feel like I'm just really going to struggle for some reason, but essentially we follow 3 characters in the first book. One of them is a prince. We also have Kala, who unbeknownst to them is a princess that everyone thought was dead, and we have Magnus, who is essentially a commoner. All Kala wants is revenge because she believes that the king murdered her family, and so she wants to kill him. And she's figured out a way to do this, and that is by entering into a set of trials. She does enter herself into these games, but these games are deadly. I feel like if you've seen the Hunger Games, they are essentially that type of thing, where everyone is out for themselves. The winner gets an audience with the king, and so you can see why Kala wants to win. However, Magnus is also in the game, and there is someone on the outside as well who is interfering, let's say. I don't want to say too much more than that. It's definitely an interesting one. I flew through the first book, it pulled me out of a reading slump, and that is why I pre-ordered the second one. Hopefully I do enjoy this one as much as I did the first one, though I will say I don't really feel inclined to pick it up at the minute, and I don't know why, so hopefully that will change soon, but I'm really happy that I have it. I may look at some spoiler-filled discussions of the first book just as a little refresher before diving into this one, on, and hopefully I can read it pretty soon in time for when the third book will be released. Next up, I have The Fury of the Gods by John Gwynne. This is the third book in the Bloodsworn series by this author. I do have the first two books, but embarrassingly, I can't tell you anything about this series because I haven't read those yet, and I genuinely don't know what this series is about. All I know is that it's a Norse-inspired world, and there are dragons and creatures in here which look terrifying, but also have me very intrigued. I don't really want to try and read the synopsis because it's obviously going to spoil me, so unfortunately I can't tell you too much more about this one. I am going to be reading the Faithful and the Fallen series by John Gwynne this year though, or rather next year now, isn't it? From January onwards, because I am joining the Catch Up Book Club's read-along for that series, and then after that I will be tackling this series because I've just heard amazing things about it, and Norse-inspired fantasy worlds are always a hit for me. The next book I have is Shadow and Storms by Helen Shura, which is the fourth and final book in the Legends of Thesma series. Now, I have read all of the books in this series, including this one. I read it on my Kindle and I was just obsessed, guys. I read the first one back in March for Realmathon and I fell in love. They are all available on Kindle Unlimited, which is how I read them, but I love them so much that I did decide to get the physical copies. This is the last one that I needed in order to finish that series and finish off my hardcover collection, and I'm so happy that it's finally here. This is a fantastic fantasy romance series in which we follow our main character Thea, who has been training her entire life to become a warrior of Thesma. The only issue with that is that women in this world aren't allowed to wield weapons in any way, shape or form because a prophecy was revealed about 30 years ago that said that a woman who wielded a blade would bring about the downfall of this empire. And so the women were stripped of their ranks and their weapons from that day forth, and Thea has been training in secret ever since. One day though, she is found out as she is training by Wilder Hawthorne, who is a warrior of Thesma himself, and he turns her in, and somehow this ends up working out for Thea. I won't go into too much detail, but she is given permission to train and compete in some trials in order to gain the title of Warrior of Thesma. This is definitely not easy for Thea though, because obviously she is a woman in a male-dominated space. There are a lot of males who feel threatened by her and want her out of the way, and she is facing a lot of brutality and attacks every single day, and she has to figure out a way to survive in this environment whilst also dealing with her growing attraction towards Wilder. This is a fantastic series. I really hope I've managed to convince you to pick this up. It's definitely a new favourite series of mine. I have Helen Shura's newest book pre-ordered as well, which I'm so excited for. It is connected to the series, but it is separate, so you can read that one first if you don't want to commit yourself to a full series. But I would highly recommend. I flew through these books. They're so compelling and I absolutely loved my time reading them. This one is another instance where I can't tell you anything about this book, unfortunately. This one is Throne of Secrets by Carrie Maniscalco. I did get the Waterstones exclusive edition, which is very pretty. Honestly though, I don't know why I did this because I've only read the first book in Carrie Maniscalco's series. I can't even remember what it's called, and it doesn't say here. Is it Kingdom of the Wicked? I feel like it's Kingdom of the Wicked. So yeah, I've only read the first book in that trilogy, and then this is the second book in a second trilogy, I want to say. So I'm very much behind, but I did want to get it because I am trying to get through these books at the minute, and I'd rather have this one to match than not and regret it later. So that is why I have this one. I honestly can't tell you too much about the series though, unfortunately. All I know is that it's a series in which we follow our main character whose sister is killed, and in order to figure out who killed her, she makes a deal with Wrath, who is one of the princes of hell. I've just had a knock at the door, guys, so I genuinely can't remember what I was saying, but this is the next book that I bought, and I will be adding it to my collection and hopefully getting to it relatively soon. The next book I have to show you guys is Ghostsmith by Nikki Palpretto. This is the second book and possibly the conclusion to the House of Dead duology. Again, I can't tell you too much about this one in particular because it is the second book in a duology and I haven't read the first one, but I do actually have the first book here, which is the Bonesmith. Look how pretty these edges are, guys. This is why why I had to get them. So I actually missed out on the Fairy Loot edition of the Bonesmith. I got this one on Vinted. However, when these went live, I was able to get one, so I just decided to do that instead of trying to hunt it down for a reasonable price elsewhere. So that is why I decided to get that one. I really didn't want to miss out. I feel like this is going to be such a great duology. I've heard nothing but amazing things, and if I'm remembering correctly, the first book is compared to a Game of Thrones. Yeah, it says Gideon the Ninth meets Game of Thrones White Walkers in this dark young adult fantasy about a disgraced ghost-fighting warrior who must journey into a haunted wasteland to rescue a kidnapped prince. That just sounds amazing. I don't need to know anymore. I am actually planning on reading these in the new year, so hopefully I can get to them in January. If not both, then the first one at least. So I do plan on reading them soon, and yeah, hopefully I do manage to get to it. Right, we're getting into the last stack of books now. These are all exclusive editions from book boxes. I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember in which order these arrived, so if they're in the wrong order, I do apologise. I have been skipping a lot of Fairy Loot and Illumicrate boxes lately, so I'm not sure what months these are from and what the theme of the box was, so again, I do apologise. But the first exclusive edition that I got from a bookish subscription box was the Phoenix Keeper by S.A. McLean. All I know about this one is that it's a book which contains animals and it's also sapphic, so I was sold. This is a beautiful edition as well, guys. Look at how stunning it is. This one is from Illumicrate. It has a beautiful design on the book itself, which looks like this, and this is the back. I feel like I may have actually done an unboxing for this one, so if I have, I'll leave it linked down below. But the end pages are just gorgeous. I absolutely love them. And it is also signed by the author, and it does have a letter from the author bound in as well, which is so cool. It also has little illustrations, and yeah, I just love it. The little snippet of this one reads, against an epic fantasy backdrop teeming with all your favourite mythical beasts from dragons and unicorns to kelpies and krakens, the Phoenix Keeper combines the cosy fantasy stakes of TJ Klune and Travis Baldry with the heartwarming contemporary romance of Alice Oseman and Casey McQuiston. I'm not gonna lie, the only author I've read from that was mentioned is TJ Klune, so I am diving in without any real expectations. I have heard really good things about this though, and yeah, the fact that it has animals in there means that I will probably love it. Next up, I have another Illumicrate edition, which is honestly just so beautiful. This is A Dark and Drowning Tide by Alison Saft. This is the front cover. We also have some stenciled edges, and this is the back. This has an art print on the book itself, which is very pretty. The end pages are really cool as well. We have a dragon on there, as well as this creature on the back, which is just adorable. It is also signed by the author, and once again, we do have a letter from the author bound in. I love that they've started doing this now. This doesn't have a little snippet, so I will just read you what it says in the description. It says, Lorelei, a folklorist with a quick temper and an even quicker wit, is on an expedition with 6 eccentric nobles in search of a mythical spring of untold power. The king wants to harness the fabled water source from which magic flows to secure his reign, and Lorelei is determined to prove herself and to make her dream come true, to become a naturalist, able to travel freely to faraway lands. The expedition gets off to a harrowing start when its leader, Lorelei's beloved mentor, is murdered in her quarters aboard their ship. The suspects are her 5 remaining expedition mates. The only person Lorelei knows must be innocent is her longtime academic rival, the insufferably gallant and maddeningly beautiful Sylvia von Wolf. Now in charge of the expedition, Lorelei must find the spring before the murderer strikes again and a coup begins in earnest. But other dangers lurk in the dark. Forests that rearrange themselves at night, rivers with slumbering dragons hiding beneath the water, and shape-shifting beasts out for blood. As Lorelei and Sylvia grudgingly work together to uncover the truth and resist their growing feelings for each other, they discover that their leader had secrets of her own. Secrets that make Lorelei question whether justice is worth pursuing and if this kingdom is worth saving at all. This sounds amazing. Why have I not picked this up already? I feel like because I haven't filmed an unboxing for this, I've just opened the parcel and put this book in a pile ready to film this book haul, and so I haven't really read the synopsis. This is definitely climbing higher on my TBR now though. It sounds exactly like my type of thing, and I can't wait to get to it in the next few months. The next book I have here is Long Live Evil by Sarah Rees Brennan. This is a Fairy Loot edition. It's again a beautiful one. It has these stenciled stenciled edges. Ooh, we have this design printed onto the book itself. We do have what appears to be a different cover as well. I never put the different covers on though, I just feel like it's a bit pointless. It's not signed from what I can see, but it does have a bound-in author letter. I've actually heard a lot of things about this book. I've heard a lot of good things as well. So I'm definitely excited to dive into this one. There is a little snippet, so I will read you that. It says, this adult epic fantasy debut from Sarah Rees Brennan puts the reader in the villain's shoes for an adventure that is both brilliant and supremely satisfying. Expect a rogues gallery of villains, including an axe-wielding maid, a shining knight with dark moods, a homicidal bodyguard, and a playboy spymaster with a golden heart and a filthy reputation. So from what I can remember, our main character finds herself transported into a fairy tale, however she is actually the villain. That's all I know, and that's all I really want to know. I'm so excited to dive into this one. Hopefully I love it as much as everyone else, and again, it is one that I need to prioritize and try and get to soon. And then the last book I have for this haul is Mistress of Lies by K.M. Enright. This is an Illumicrate exclusive edition. It's again a very beautiful one. It has these stenciled edges which are gorgeous, and this is the front cover. Let's see what is under the dust jacket. We have this design printed onto the book itself, which I love. These are the end pages. It is also signed by the author, and we do have a bound-in author letter. I definitely feel like this is one of the stronger Illumicrate editions that we've had. It's so pretty, but I will say I haven't heard the best things about this one since receiving it, so I am a little bit apprehensive about this one. It just says here, Mistress of Lies is a darkly seductive romantasy debut with a villainous bloodthirsty heroine who finds herself plunged into the dangerous world of power, politics, and murder in the court of the Eternal King. See, that sounds like something I would enjoy, but as I said, I've just not heard the best things. I'm still gonna read it, hopefully I'm gonna love it, but I'm definitely a little bit more wary with this one. But there we have it, guys. These are all of the books that I've hauled recently. It definitely looks like a hefty stack, but I feel like it's been quite a few months since I filmed an unhaul, so honestly I feel like I've done pretty well. Please do let me know your spoiler-free thoughts on any of the books that I hauled today if you have any. I love reading your comments because it definitely sways the order in which I read these books, so please go ahead and mention that if you have any thoughts. If you don't have anything in particular that you would like to say but you would like to let me know that you're still here, please go ahead and comment a sword emoji down below. I feel like this is such a striking edge that I just had to go for a sword, so if you don't have anything in particular that you would like to say, please go ahead and comment that now. It honestly blows me away that you guys watch these all the way through, and seeing the emoji of the video in the comments just makes me so happy. As well as that, please don't forget to click the like button if you like this video and the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content from me. But that is it for me today, guys. Thank you so much once again for watching, and I will see you soon in my next video. Goodbye!